Hi guys, Tuesday the 6th of October, and that's pretty good because I'm usually lousy with dates, but I got that one. And as you can see, it's a rather important day for me because finally all that hair that's been coming out, especially down the back of my neck, has gone. I finally got myself a haircut, and it was pretty early in the morning too. It was about 8:30, slightly before. The woman running the hair salon, well, hair barbers really, she got there at about 7:30 apparently, and she lives in but yeah, look, I finally got the haircut, so that was a great relief, and had a bit of a natter to the woman who cut my hair. It wasn't a $10 cut, it ended up costing $20, so obviously a bit more work was required, but it does look a lot better. And I haven't had a haircut since about mid-February, so it's well overdue. I can't exactly complain about it being an expensive thing for me to do, seeing it's so intermittent. But anyway, that's a minor consideration compared to the news, which continues on. Something I was saying about Daniel Andrews, it seems to be coming to fruition. It's not a good thing. And I'll just start off right now with the news headlines and take you through it all. But this sort of vindicates my opinion of Daniel Andrews. Melbourne's restrictions may not be lifted in October the 19th, despite plunging case numbers, as Dave Hughes and an MP launch extraordinary attacks on manipulative gaslighter Daniel Andrews. Brett Sutton expressed doubts over Melbourne being ready to ease restrictions. He said easing restrictions too soon would risk losing control of mystery cases. Comedian Dave Hughes has since criticised Daniel Andrews and Professor Sutton. Brighton MP James Newbury called Mr Andrews a manipulative gaslighter. And this is exactly what I warned you of. I said that Daniel Andrews seems to take great delight in toying with the Victorian public. He sort of makes them think that there's going to be a lifting of restrictions, and then he'll just turn around and clamp down hard. I think he's a real sadist. I think he just loves stuffing around with people's minds in Victoria. Victorians have got to stand up against this thug. He really is a thug, and he's an ignorant thug because he doesn't understand that a virus cannot be destroyed. You can control it, you can minimise risk, you should do all those things, but you cannot destroy a virus. It will flare up. It's just the way it is. Do these people read books? Do they actually look at history? You know, Professor Brett Sutton, what have you actually checked out what the most efficient way of actually handling this particular virus is? I just really wonder. I just don't have any faith in bad leadership like this. The same thing is happening in New York, where you've got Cuomo and de Blasio absolutely going down the same trail. In effect, they're trying to basically eliminate a virus, and they don't care about the collateral damage it's causing the economy, which in effect causes a lot more misery amongst the population. But try telling that to a left-wing ideologue like Daniel Andrews and his enforcer, Brett Sutton. Melbourne's coronavirus restrictions may not be lifted on October the 19th as planned, despite plummeting case numbers. Mr Andrews announced the city would progress to step 3 of its roadmap, don't make me laugh about roadmaps, out of lockdown if there was a 14-day average of less than 5 cases per day by October the 19th. Figures just plucked out of thin air. Just ridiculous. These people have just played real hard ass with absurdly low figures they're asking for. It's way too much. If they were really focused on what was causing damage to Victoria, it would be the fact that so many businesses are going out of business and that so many people are losing their jobs. Bloody idiots. But Victoria's Chief Health Officer, Brett Sutton, expressed doubts over whether Melbourne is on track to ease restrictions by mid-October. Big surprise. Professor Sutton said easing restrictions too soon would risk losing control over the mystery cases. You've already lost control. You've never had control. And what a joke. I mean, this incompetent government has just been basically coming up with one contingency plan after another. They're pathetic. We've had to see exactly where we were at that time, including the trend, he said. Have you heard of a place called Sweden? They've actually now got herd immunity. Do you actually get other information apart from your bubble with your lift-wing bubble in Victoria? I just wonder. Because of it, all 5 cases are the first week of that fortnight, and we have had 7 or 8 or 9 days prior to the 19th that has absolutely no mystery cases. That's a positive, obviously. Professor Sutton, now he's a professor again, Professor Sutton also warned that the 5-kilometre limit on household travelling could remain in place even if other measures are relaxed. We will examine it at the point when we are there, he said. We will see where the outbreak's transmission is coming from and reflect on the 5-kilometre rule with respect to that and the overall picture. If you believe any of this crap, you're very naive. They're not going to loosen the ties at all. They love having a stranglehold on the Victorian public. Comedian Dave Hughes has since criticised Mr Andrews and Prof Sutton over their threat to keep Melburnians stuck at home until next year. I totally agree. It's taking people like Dave Hughes, as I say, stand-up comic, and Jim Penman and his business to make these points to these people, because they do live in a bubble. They don't understand real people. Hughes said Mr Andrews and Professor Sutton needed to look beyond manipulated clickbait when the pair pleaded with Victorians to follow the rules after large crowds surrounded a television reporter on Secunda Beach on Friday. Oh, the poor television reporter. He was swamped. He didn't know what he was in a war zone. The poor guy, they should have got a helicopter and take him out of that danger zone. My God. Professor Sutton said of the footage, "Don't risk everything. What we can hold back now means a truly normal summer. Please hold the line. Give me a break. You've got no intention of holding the line or having a normal summer. It's just not on the agenda with these people. You need to get rid of Andrews and Sutton ASAP. Seriously." Mr Andrews also pleaded with Victorians in the wake of the footage, urging, "We are so close." Bullshit. We are so close. Toying with Victorians again, playing mind games, and then they'll clamp down hard. I've predicted this before, and I've been right, and this is following that same trend. Let's not any of us do anything that might undermine the very positive numbers, the very strong performance we have seen in recent days. The trend is with us. The numbers are coming down. Once we get them low, we can keep them low, and then we can open up again, he said. And if you want to spend summer at the beach, then summer will be time to do that. If we don't do anything silly or anything selfish right now, he's using the same terminology as Daniel Andrews, silly and selfish. Hughes wasn't impressed with the Premier or Prof Sutton. I'm with you, Hughesy, totally with you. Meanwhile, member for Brighton, James Newbury, on Monday launched an extraordinary attack on Mr Andrews on Twitter, accusing the Premier of gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation. Well, that's exactly what it is. Call a spade a spade. Daniel Andrews keeps breaking promises to ease restrictions, yet blames us for the reversal. Now he won't commit to his 19th October date and is threatening to keep the 5-kilometre rule. Blaming our behaviour, Daniel is a manipulative gaslighter, he wrote. And that's true, he is. Here's another story, by the way. And another tale of woe from Daniel Andrews. How Daniel Andrews is allowing a Chinese company which was blacklisted by the US over security fears and is part of Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative to build Melbourne's new trains, CRRC, Changchun Railway Vehicles, won bid to build trains for Melbourne in 2016. Premier Daniel Andrews then made a deal with China's Belt and Road Initiative. CRRC has been identified as a potential cybersecurity threat by the US. Yeah, but that wouldn't worry Dan, because he's got more connection with China than he does Australia. I wonder where his loyalties really lie. A Chinese company which was banned in the US over security fears and tied to the nation's Belt and Road Initiative will build Melbourne's new trains. CRRC, Changchun Railway Vehicles, won the bid to build 65 new high-capacity metro trains in 2016, just a week before Premier Daniel Andrews travelled to China. Mr Andrews then went on a strike to strike a deal with the communist country under the Belt and Road Initiative, which allows China to invest in huge infrastructure projects around the world. A report from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute in March also found the manufacturer is one of 82 companies benefiting from the use of Uyghur workers. CRRC was launched in 2015 and employs about 180,000 workers at more than 40 subsidiaries. The company made more than $44 billion in 2018. The train program is more than 18 months behind schedule. CRRC was chosen ahead of local manufacturers. Oh, I might add that between the two contractors that were building both subways in Saigon and Hanoi, the Hanoi one was built by a Chinese mob, and there were industrial accidents there. The one in Saigon was built by Japanese, and there hasn't been any incidents at all. So it says a lot about these Chinese companies. Mr Andrews maintains Victoria Belt and Road deal, along with many others the state has with China, is all about jobs. Oh yeah, no, it's all about jobs and politics. You are quite happy to have the Communist Party influence what's going on in Victoria. Chinese companies which have been investing in Victorian projects such as the Metro Tunnel have been employing tens of thousands of local workers, he said. The leader stressed that doesn't mean he is turning a blind eye to China's human rights record. Oh, right. I'm sure you're losing sleep every night, Dan, over that. Look, you don't give a damn what happens to those people. You care what your masters in Beijing think of you. That's really what your major concern is. We don't agree with China on everything, Mr Andrews told reporters in June. Oh, right. But that's so reassuring, Dan. But if you want a good trading relationship, if you want to send more Victorian-made product to China to create jobs here in Victoria, there is a good relationship on the things you can agree on is very, very important. Yeah, all these goods are made in Victoria by Chinese companies taking Chinese profits. What about Australian profits, Dan? What about an Australian company actually doing something like that? CRRC has built trains for Boston, Chicago and Los Angeles, but faces increased scrutiny in the US. The manufacturer was identified on a list of Chinese companies working in the US with close links to the Chinese government created by the US Defense Department. Those on the list could face emergency economic powers and sanctions by the US President. Daniel Andrews' deal with China, this is actually the outline of it. In October 2018, the Victorian Labor government signed a memo of understanding with China under the country's Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative is a Chinese plan to establish maritime trade routes and invest in infrastructure projects around the world and make people turn these companies, these cities and states into debt-ridden holes that then the Chinese will have control over. That's the real agenda here, by the way. More than 170 memos of understanding have been signed with 125 countries. Premier Andrews said he wanted to increase Chinese participation in Victorian building projects, manufacturing and trade. In October 2019, Mr Andrews reached a framework agreement with China that vowed to make a roadmap for cooperation on specific initiatives. Oh, the roadmap king is back again. So far, the roadmap has not been published. Oh, what a surprise. Federal Labor MP Andrew Hastie has told Daily Mail Australia that Mr Andrews has gone off the reservation by conducting his own foreign policy with China. Very true, Andrew. As trade tensions with China mount, Mr Andrews has been urged to scrap the agreement, which he claims creates jobs for Victorians. Michael Schrodridge of the Australian Strategic Policy Institute said the Victorian government BRI activities are simply out of step with the new international and economic environment, including the now and openly coercive directions that Beijing is taking with Canberra over trade and in government relations. Victorian Labor Senator Kimberly Kitching, chair of the Senate Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade References Committee, said the Victorian government should not have entered into an agreement with the Chinese government on the Belt and Road Initiative. It is bad policy and bad optics. But it's Daniel Andrews. What do you expect? You expect good policies, good optics? The man is really dangerous. He's basically, he would have Victoria in poverty beholden to the Chinese. And in a way, that would fit his agenda perfectly well. I'm sure that he'd be more than happy to basically turn Victoria into a de facto southern province of China, which is just not on. It's bad enough that the Darwin ports have gone to the Chinese. Having a whole state basically beholden to Chinese through incredible debt is not a good move. And Victoria has got a fair bit of debt because of Daniel Andrews' mishandling, obviously handing out sweetheart agreements with unions to build projects at ridiculous cost. This man is dangerous. He's bad economically, he's bad politically, and I think psychologically he's a nutcase. And I think the Labor Party would be well advised to get rid of him as soon as possible, and him and his chief medical officer. I'm so fed up with them. These guys have caused so much disruption in Australia, and they're just they're medical zealots basically, / bureaucrats. The worst combination you could think of. Anyway, that's the news again today. Hopefully at some stage this house of cards that Andrews has built will start tumbling down and we'll see the arse end of him. But don't hold your breath, folks. I'm afraid Victorians are in for a bit more suffering until that point is reached. So that's it for today. As I say, I've already had my big walk early today, had my hair cut and got a bit of shopping done, and just got my energy back now, and it's around about 12:30 to 1, and so it's very nice outside. So yeah, I love living up here. I looked up properties again in Trinity Beach, no luck. Trinity Beach, by the way, is where my the barber lives as well, so that was interesting having a chat to her about that. Yeah, there's just no new properties being listed. It's very frustrating for a potential buyer. And, you know, I'd really like to get this moving ASAP, but looks like I'll just have to show a bit of patience. And as the year goes on, there'll be less and less properties for sale, because I certainly wouldn't be selling stuff during summer up here, I wouldn't have thought. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. Anyway, look, if you enjoyed what you saw today, please give me the thumbs up or thumbs down. And keep the comments flowing. They're great. There's obviously a lot of people suffering in Victoria, and I really feel sorry for you guys, and I hope this nightmare ends soon. And of course, please subscribe. I haven't had much of a bump in subscriptions. I've got 611, so it's slow going again. I just have to pray that one of these videos goes viral, and then I might get a chunk of 10 or more extra subs, or you know, to see how it goes. But yeah, these subs seem to have stopped growing, which is a bit disappointing, but yeah, that's the way it is. You've got to take the rough with the smooth when you're online. Anything can happen. But overall, very happy with the way that the channel's progressing. So thanks for all your support, and have a great day.